John,
Hey,
it's been a while, buddy. We're
yeah,
we're back in black.
back. We're back in black. Back. It's Saturday nights. It's beautiful here in Las Vegas. A beautiful day today in Las Vegas. It was 72 degrees and sunny. I will make
Yeah.
sure all my friends in Chicago hear that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful 72-degree day
And
outside.
and very serene, right? You must miss the sounds of flying bullets, maybe some sirens.
The drag racing, the screams of the homeless, just screams in general,
I imagine though,
sirens.
I imagine you can subscribe to maybe a Chicago atmosphere streaming channel just to bring you back. It's probably expensive, but the sounds of it's just could be like City Calm, Chicago edition.
I'm just going to leave that subscription alone because I'm enjoying the tranquility of the desert
Yeah.
from the madness of. And today, of course, is the St. Patrick's celebration in Chicago,
Yeah.
which is where not only does the river run green with dye, but the streets run green with vomit. Is the other part of
Green.
it.
Everything
Green
green though.
vomit, everything green. Thank goodness, none of that where I live. Nice and calm. So
Well, I tell you,
all is good.
it is a crazy week, and I the thing about Chicago is that it goes both weekends, right? You get like a
Yeah,
two for one hit Saturday
it
to the
is.
actual day, which I think is Friday.
It's
Uh,
Friday, so it's like
yeah.
amateur night is tonight, right? That's like when
Oh
all the
God.
amateurs go out, and then hardcore on the 17th, and now
Yeah.
like a 2 day party, and shooting
Oh
festival
yeah.
that will go on. So yeah, not being Dutch, like I have my Dutch hat on. I'm not, I
Yeah.
can't really celebrate. I mean, hey, all my friends that are Irish,
Hey, hey,
go for it.
and the news I told you with this whole
That's right.
ancestry.com, everyone, I learned, right? Everyone knew about my Latin roots, but now no one knows that on my mysterious father's side that I'm half
Yeah,
Dutch. I wouldn't
yeah,
say half, I mean, the
yeah.
blood, right? When you look at that ancestry, my father's the majority was from Holland.
Yeah.
So I am half of my dad, so I have half Dutch. There you
Welcome
go.
to the family, buddy. Welcome to the
So I need to
family.
wear some more orange on
You
this
know what? Now, if
St.
you come to
Patrick's Day.
Vegas, if you come to Vegas, it'd be like me as like one more Dutch person, but you have a Dutch Day parade. It'd be like the
Yeah,
three of us walking down
yeah,
the strip with
let's
a
do it,
flag.
man. I'm telling you, man. There's
Be
a
awesome.
lot.
It'd
I
be awesome.
well, listen, our episode here
Yeah.
is, as you said, John, this is a quite extensive list. This
Yes.
is movies that have been made into TV series and vice versa, right? So
That's
there's
right.
movie to TV, TV to movie. And in many cases, I got to tell you this story. So I was visiting my brother in North Carolina
Mm.
last week, and I went to a trivia night, right? This is what you do when you're
Mm.
married
Right.
couples. It's actually an amazingly fun time. And one of the let's say almost like a double jeopardy question was, which of these TV series was never a movie, right? So most of
Mm.
them had been movies. So that's where this kind of like idea, like, holy
Yeah.
cow, this is, I mean, it's hitting North Carolina trivia. So we thought we would tackle this
Right on.
episode and go straight into it. Now, obviously, John, there's some logic when you have a successful product, right? Either you do a sequel, right? Jaws was
Yep.
really big, so let's do Jaws 2. And then you
Right.
can almost make it into a franchise like Police Academy, right? Or
Right. There you go.
Police Academy
Right on.
10. They just keep how long can we keep this going? So what do you think the logic here is when they're like, hey, this is a great TV or movie. Let's see if it'll work in another format.
I think it goes either way, either for a movie or TV. I think when you got a successful, like a blockbuster
Yeah.
success in your hands, sometimes it's easy to say, okay, we can easily transition to a franchise very easily,
Yeah.
right? And we've seen that in a lot of ways. I mean, I think I've got 14 that were from movie to TV on my
Yeah.
list, and another 20 that were TV to movie. So there's a lot, but there were some that when movies were made or TV shows were in the very beginning, and the movie didn't
Yeah.
come till much later.
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's just when people see a blockbuster, whether it's a film, I think the smart money people in their head start going, how
Yeah.
can we turn this into a franchise? And the same thing with like a movie. Wow, this movie was amazing. It's got a bunch of different, we see it going into other episodes or other sequels. Boy, we could probably make this into a great TV series. So I
Yeah.
think it just kind of depends on the creativity and how greedy they are. And in some cases, it works. In
Yeah.
some cases, I've got examples of things that worked really well. I've got
Yeah.
examples of things that really didn't work at all. That you probably were. There's a few on here that I had no idea went from movie to TV.
Yeah.
That I was shocked. I didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. I think you'll see that it's not a formula. It's not, hey, people like it as a movie, it's going to work great as a TV, and obviously
Right.
vice versa.
Yeah.
I think some movies, and we see this in the examples, that they work well in a 90-minute or 120 minutes. You can encapsulate the feeling and the story, but breaking this up into 20-minute episodes, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Likewise, you have all these episodes, but it doesn't really coalesce as a movie.
Right.
And I think it's almost that I've seen just as many successful as just so many bombs
Yeah.
and failures on it.
Oh
But
yeah.
what are some that, John, that you would say did it well? If we could say the
From
good, right? The good, bad,
from
ugly.
movie,
Yeah.
should we start at movie to TV or TV to movie? Which one do you want to
Let's
start?
go to movie to TV.
Okay, so probably my favorite of all time,
Yeah.
and that's a big all time. My favorite movie to TV was Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Planet of the Apes was 1968, right?
Yep.
I wasn't allowed to see it in the theater, but
Mhm.
I ended up actually seeing the TV shows when I was very young. I was like, they were from 1974. So it
Yep.
was a short run TV series. It was 1 year. They had like 8 episodes. But I remember watching them. I remember they started making Planet of the Apes dolls too to go along
Oh
with the
yeah.
TV show. And that got me interested in the movie itself. So I saw the movie later on, but I loved the Planet of the Apes TV series. And I
Yep.
actually, we own them on DVD. And it's so good. And and of course, there were multiple Planet of the Apes
Yeah,
movies, sequels that went on.
for
There were, I
sure.
think, five altogether. But I thought
And
the
and
TV
there were
show
remakes.
remakes with Mark Wahlberg,
Yeah.
many remakes after that,
Yeah.
correct. But I thought the original movie, is still one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. I've got the action figures behind me, but the TV series I thought worked really well, and
Mhm.
I love that. So that was one that I thought was really good, in my opinion. It was a
And
really good one.
and it was it that they were able, and I've seen, I
Yeah.
think, the first three or four. Uh, were they able? But I never saw the series on TV. So were
Yeah.
they able to, like, was every episode a different, like Twilight Zone, or just many episodes? Right.
It
It's
was
and contained story in 20 minutes or 25 minutes.
it was like a series of of the gorillas trying to capture the humans, right?
Okay.
And basically every episode they would fail, but
Yeah.
every
Okay.
episode there was like another way to catch the humans. And then they
Okay.
had all these new characters that would come into play, and then like the original characters that were still in it. So
Yeah.
it was like a new take on the same goal, is to capture the humans and kill them. But
Yeah.
every episode they would elude the gorillas, and that was kind of the fun part of it.
I need to see that. I vaguely remember
Mm.
seeing the TV. They're definitely 70s, right? Mid 70s.
Oh, way 70s. Yeah. I mean, even like the hair, everything was so
Yeah.
70s. The music was way 70s. It's awesome.
Here's one that you had on the list that I actually never saw the movie. But the series, it's almost like the soundtrack of our lives. It's especially growing up in the 80s, is MASH,
Yeah.
which came out in
MASH.
1970. And
Yep.
then to me, it may be just my perception, but the series was bigger than the movie.
It was. It was. The series was, I mean, it's MASH. And people say, you say the word MASH, and people go, "Oh, Alan Alda," the TV
Yeah.
series, right? But yeah, the movie was excellent. It was a great movie. I mean,
Yeah.
very different cast. None
Yeah.
of the TV cast was in the movie, but it was a really good movie. But the TV show is what made it what it was.
Yeah. And I think, to me, if I had to kind of hypothesize here, right, with my very little film experience skill, but was that you're able to build the characters, right? The character development over many, many episodes as opposed to a, 2 hour shot. And I think that that gives a lot of freedom, especially if you can have the same actors and the same
Yep.
chemistry. I
Yep.
thought that's like, wow, that's a really cool way to,
It
um,
was.
and but in some cases it doesn't revert. We'll talk about TV to movies, but I think in this list here, some of that did well. Fame, all right,
Yeah.
Fame,
Fame.
great movie
Huge.
and great
Huge.
series.
Great series. Yeah. That was one that was awesome. I mean, if you go
The
back
dancer
to like
and cornrows, John. Who is it? Let's say it. Who's the
uh
dancer in
oh no. I don't
Leroy?
know.
Leroy.
Leroy. Thank you. He was badass. He was cool.
For a dancer, right?
He was cool. He looked cool. He wore cool clothes, and the dude could dance. I mean,
Yeah.
so it was like,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was one. I mean, there were some earlier ones I remember, like How the West was one.
Yeah.
The Odd Couple. The Odd Couple was, I love that movie with Jack Lemmon, Walter
Uh-huh.
Matthau. It's an older film from the 60s. I love The Odd Couple. That became a huge, huge TV series,
Yeah.
in the 70s, The Odd Couple. But one that I never saw was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Did you know there were multiple iterations of TV shows from Ferris Bueller's
No
Day Off?
idea.
I had no
This
idea. No
this
idea. There
it
have
doesn't even
been
go straight to DVD. It just goes straight to
it was a
where this
TV. It was like
obscurity.
the movie, as we know, also
Yeah.
one of our favorite films, 1986. There have been, you could check IMDb. There have been multiple tries at
Yeah.
doing a Ferris Bueller's TV
Oh,
show. And actually, the first original Ferris Bueller's TV show that came out had Jennifer Aniston as
wow.
Ferris Bueller's sister.
Yeah.
Still failed. Yeah, I mean, epic. I never even knew that
Yeah.
existed, and when I did some research, I'm like, oh my god, how is that possible? No
Yeah.
idea.
Wow.
Yep.
I was just thinking about it. Like, I don't have any, I can need to do some research on that and find an episode. Well, what about if we talk about Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh, come on.
This, one of my favorite, I think it was Thursday night or Friday night
Yeah,
in the
man.
early 80s, almost like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah,
Was based on a movie called Moonrunners, which is about
yeah,
moonshiners in the South, and it literally has the same characters.
yep. It
Um,
does.
and like a boss hog, you had like an Uncle Jesse. But again, no one, I don't think anyone could say, oh, yeah, the Moonrunners. I don't think most Dukes of Hazzard viewers, right? I'm not talking about
Mm-mm.
hardcore fans, know that. It was kind of an obscure movie. It didn't really win any big
Yeah,
accolades. It just was in
I
1975.
didn't know. I didn't know until you told me. I had
Yeah.
no idea because Dukes of Hazzard was 1979 into
Yeah.
like 80, 84, something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had no idea there was actually a Moonrunners starring James Mitchum, which is
Yeah.
Bob Mitchum's Robert Mitchum's son.
Yeah.
And yeah, no idea. It kind of looks badass. Like the movie poster's cool as
Yeah.
hell.
No,
I'm like, damn,
it
that's the
definitely,
poster I want to frame.
when it starts, you don't know if it's one of those 70s amateur porn. You're like, what's going on here?
What is
The
this?
camera, what's happening here? Am
Yeah,
I
it
gonna
was
have
like
to turn this off or like
it
go
was like it's kind of like a student film a little bit. You're like,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
did the
yeah,
production value was low.
yeah,
There's a guy with a flashlight, and
yeah.
they had no
There's that, like, two cameras, there's that pause, like, hey, you shouldn't be doing moonshine, and then there's that awkward pause, like, dude, get your lines right. So that's movies to TV, and we've talked
yeah.
about some of the good. What are some of the bad? What are some movies that just did
Uh,
not translate to TV? I got a couple
well,
here.
I mean, there was some that I picked up. The first one, was a film from the 90s, Clueless.
Yeah,
Apparently, Clueless was a huge film.
yeah,
It had a really good soundtrack too. You
yeah.
probably know better than I do.
Oh,
A
yeah.
wicked soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Really tight, and big film, a big film, a lot of pop culture. And then they made it into a TV series, and it just did absolutely nothing. Like it just
Yeah,
died. They tried to make it, didn't go anywhere at all. Just
yeah,
completely failed. Where they thought they had a big movie, huge blockbuster. Oh, Let's make
Yeah.
this into a TV series. Not
Yeah.
having it.
And
Dying.
it's strange in that way because in so many cases when you have such a strong product, right? You have this
Yeah.
so-called the accessories. You
Yeah.
think that they could have squeezed out another couple, like at least a season, but it didn't work. In some cases, it just maybe it's the cast. There's a whole list of variables. One that did well that I wanted to put in here. It wasn't necessarily let me just say this. It's not a direct link, so it's not officially on the list, but American Graffiti influenced Happy Days, this whole
Yeah. Yeah.
retro
Yep.
in the 70s, right? There was this kind of looking back to the 50s and that early 60s drive-in culture. Here's one I got for you. Okay. Again, uh there was I think only like 5 episodes and they just canceled it. Movie Staying Alive, 1978 or 77, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
John Travolta, obviously, the whole disco movement. The spinoff of that, or the series, was called Making It with David Naughton, who was the Dr. Pepper, the guy who sang,
Yeah.
Wouldn't You Like to Be a Pepper Too? And he had a hit song in 1978, late 1978, called Making It. And
Yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
yeah.
Make it.
And I
Yeah.
watched a couple of these episodes. It has John Travolta's mom
Yeah.
actually as one of the lead characters.
Making it. I
Total
see it. Oh
failure.
my
And
goodness.
it literally
Yeah.
it got caught in that late 70s. Right? Literally, this is interesting. The first half of 1979 disco was all on the charts. Then in July, when they had the whole Comiskey Death to
Yeah.
Disco,
Yeah.
by the end of 1979, there was no number one disco hits on the chart. So that was one that just timing failed. He was actually kind of funny in it, David, not, but it just, man,
Not good.
just didn't happen. Now let's switch over to
Yep.
TV to movie.
Yep. I mean, there's so much to work with here. Um, so much. There were three that popped out that were like kind of no-brainers, and then a fourth one. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna start out with one that I hold near and dear to my heart, which I remember every Sunday night. I think it was
yeah,
Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. I believe was the Muppet Show
yeah,
every Sunday night.
yeah.
And as a kid, I loved the Muppets. They were just, and they would always have a guest star on, like
Yeah,
Prince was on, but goes
yeah.
back to like John Denver and all these
Not
like,
Denver.
yeah, God, John
Yeah,
Denver.
yeah,
And so late 70s, 80s, I was a huge fan of the Muppet Show. I watched every episode. I had action
yeah,
figures. And then that was in 1976 to 1981 was the Muppet Show TV run. And then in
yeah.
1979 was the very first Muppet
Muppet movie.
movie.
Yeah,
And that was amazing.
yeah,
I like that still I still love that movie. So to me, TV show series to movie, and then they ended up having like three other Muppet movies and
yeah.
iterations that were on.
Muppets Take
I thought that
Manhattan, which
Muppet
was
Takes
another good.
Manhattan, classic. Muppet Takes Manhattan,
Yeah,
the Muppet Murder Mystery, and then they redid them
the-
like in the early 2000s. They had
yeah,
additional Muppet movies, but that very first one, I love the TV series. I watched it every night every night it was on as a kid,
yeah.
and then the movie came out and I lost my shit.
So
It
now,
was amazing.
in this case here, when you have the TV,
Yeah.
I mean, the challenge is, do you have enough material to make actually a coherent movie with a plot?
Right.
And I think in some cases you do, right? The
Yeah.
Muppet movies. And as we go through here, some of this list, and we don't have to go through in too much detail, but I mean, one of the biggest ones is Star Trek, right? A
Yeah.
legendary TV series, and then a
Huge.
legendary movie series.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, you got Mission Impossible, you got The Fugitive, The Brady Bunch, which I got to say, now that one came. All right, I'm a huge fan. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Yeah,
Huge,
yeah.
enormous.
Huge.
And I plan, by the way, to go visit. It's near Studio City, the house. So it's about an hour away. The movies were done over, let's say, 30 years after, right? The Brady Bunch was in the kind of in the early and mid 70s. And the movies were, I thought they were really well done.
Yeah, they were
and I
fun.
thought, and
They
I,
were. They were.
but it's strange how late it was. You think they would have captured.
Well, here's a great example, and this one is from my wife. Wonder Woman, the series on
Yeah.
TV with Linda Carter,
Oh yeah.
1975, 1979. You know,
Yeah.
my wife's a massive Wonder Woman fan. The movie didn't come out until 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, so massive gap.
Yeah.
You know, right now, Wonder
Huge gap.
Woman is a huge gap.
Well,
But I mean, that show with Linda Carter, I mean,
all
was
the,
mind as a young boy, Wonder Woman, you know, running
yeah,
down in
yeah.
a show. It was huge, but the show was really good. It was kitschy. It
It
was kind of
was
fun. It
it
was a good
was
show.
and you remember it in a way. You remember, so I
Remember
mean,
it?
all the movies, right? If you
Absolutely.
all the Marvel comics, you got Spider-Man, right? And I mean, we could take any comic.
Batman. I mean, the Batman
Yeah,
series from the '60s became a movie
huge.
in 1989.
And those do so well. Now I gotta admit the
Yeah,
Hulk wasn't that good, but
maybe not the Hulk.
but most of them, I think Hollywood has hit on this gold mine and they're just not letting go. They're just anything. And it's a good test, right? You have the
Yeah.
series. Now, one that I was so eager to see was I was a big fan of the HBO series Entourage,
Mm.
starring Adrian Grenier.
Yeah,
And
of course. Yeah.
this is a Mark Wahlberg production and whatnot. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. But the movie, I think the response generally was it fell flat. And I admit
Yeah.
that it almost was like they couldn't get enough material. Like they were struggling to fill in 2 hours. So the story became a bit zany. It didn't really become believable. And it
Mm.
was like, okay, this doesn't really work as a movie.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with a lot. In these cases, vice versa. It just either you just don't want to. It just to me, I think it's just that it doesn't have a story for 2 hours. And so in some cases, they're like, this is made in episodes, 20 minutes, great. But you do
Yep.
need a good story to continue through.
I totally agree because there were some good ones. For example, I'll give you examples of two that one worked well, one that didn't, but they were very similar
Yeah.
shows. You had the Addams Family
Yeah.
TV show,
Big
amazing.
hit. Yeah.
The movies, big hits,
Big hit.
really really good movies. I love the Addams Family movies. The original ones were so good. So great, kind of kitschy '60s film, TV series, amazing movie. The Munsters, hilarious TV series, really really funny. The movie, not so much. The
Yeah.
movie, I mean, they had like one kind of movie that was right afterwards. It was still part of the original cast, but they made a movie out of a couple different movies out of it, and it never worked. I think they went right to video. They tried to make it
so
work.
many.
That didn't work. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
They tried.
I even thinking of cartoons, Richie Rich.
Oh my
Remember
God,
that
Richie
one?
Rich. Yeah, Richie
Yeah,
Rich.
so
I mean,
Scooby-Doo.
was that Macaulay Culkin played
Yeah,
Richie
yeah.
Rich?
And
Oh my God.
Claudia Schiffer was in it.
Oh my God.
But you
Yeah.
had all that. You had Scooby-Doo, which I love. I mean, Scooby-Doo is the gold standard,
Yeah,
right?
huge.
For TV shows as a kid. And somehow
huge.
it was okay.
It was okay. The Freddie Prinze.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I know people.
They did a good
really,
job. I give them credit.
But you know what? Some things should just stay cartoons.
Yeah.
Some things should just stay cartoons and not go live action.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like making Scooby the computer generated dog was kind of funny, but yeah, I'm with you, man. Like I know some people will argue and say it was really good,
Yeah.
but no, I'm with you. It didn't. Nah.
And some just
do
don't translate from movie into adult movie, such as Pinocchio. That did not go well.
Can't say I've never seen that one, so
that's not on the TCM list there.
Yeah, I remember what Bewitched was another one, a TV series that was massive.
Yeah.
To the Bewitched, the TV series, and then they did a Bewitched movie with
with Jack Black.
Was Jack Black in it?
I think Jack Black was maybe played the new Dennis. Or what was the husband? Darren. I think that was it.
Yeah, Bewitched, because the movie with Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell from 05.
Okay.
And it was terrible.
Yeah, that's so. Now, which ones? Let me ask you this question as we wrap up here. What movie would you love to see as a TV series
Ooh,
that
what
hasn't
have
been
been,
done?
what I would have, oh, it's hard because I think there are some, like, for example, the movie Swingers, right?
Yep.
So many great characters
Yeah.
in that movie. Mikey and Sue and all the characters that were in that movie was so good. And I
Yep.
could easily see those characters developing into like a shorter, like not so much a like a movie, but like a HBO series, like
Okay.
Swingers, right? Where these
Okay.
characters kind of progress through their careers, they do different things. I could see that becoming like a series,
Hmm. Yeah.
that I could definitely see. Like on the other side, I love the Office TV show. I'm a diehard fan
Yep.
of both the UK and the American version. I would never want to see an Office movie. I would be terrible. It would be the worst idea ever. But Swingers,
Yeah.
I could see that going into some kind of like TV series.
Yeah. I think people, for example, like the one that we didn't talk about was Sex in the City, which
Oh yeah,
was huge on
yeah,
both sides, but I think it's got a cult following.
yeah,
I
it
think
does.
for me, a movie, dude, I got to tell you, especially it's very timely given St. Patrick's
Mm.
Day is around the corner,
Oh no,
is
oh
to take the
no,
movie Leprechaun
Leprechaun. I knew it. I
and make
knew
it a
it.
series.
As soon as you said
I
St.
mean,
Patrick's
this
Day, I'm like,
listen,
oh, dude,
it's
Leprechaun.
almost doing it. They're on like Leprechaun 8, like Leprechaun
They, they,
takes
they,
Silicon Valley, like Leprechaun takes over Tesla. I mean, it's getting ridiculous.
Leprechaun takes over Meta. It,
Yeah. Yeah.
he eats what's his name? He eats the CEO, Mark,
Yeah.
whatever his name is.
Leprechaun takes on AI, like, they have a battle. I
That's
one now
awesome.
these are some that I'm so happy they didn't touch.
Mm.
Jaws.
Oh
Right.
God,
I am
thank God.
so
Oh
happy.
yeah.
See, exactly. Now we got to talk about those that you're so happy they didn't do. I'd say
Yeah.
Jaws, Shawshank Redemption, like all your
Oh,
best movies. It's like,
yeah.
don't touch them. Could you imagine a watered down Godfather on like prime
Oh,
time on
like
Thursday?
like like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Be like a soap opera kind of deal. Oh, a horrible idea. Oh my goodness, horrible
I'm
idea.
surprised they have it. I mean, you do have Sopranos, right? Which is not The Godfather, but you do have this in this episode of like kind of your everyday budget mobsters.
Can you imagine The Shining as a
Oh
TV
yeah.
series? Oh my God.
They
Yeah.
keep coming
Yeah.
back.
They keep coming back. The blood keeps coming down through the elevators.
Yeah. Some just are not meant. You're just like, hey man, just don't
No,
touch it.
just
And
leave it
and 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 I
alone.
and I we talked in one of our first episodes or early episodes about sequels. And
Yeah.
in some of these, you're just like, don't touch it.
Yeah.
Just
No.
leave it as it is. There's no sequel. Just make it classic and
I know.
and don't turn it into a TV series. Yeah, you don't want and you just see these producers are like, hey, the movie did really well. I think we could do this in a TV
Oh
series.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I really wonder what the criteria is. Like, obviously they do testing. They have ticket sales and whatnot. There's
Right.
macro economics. There's kind of this macro environment of like, hey, disco is still in. It's still hot. Let's do a series. Let's just have these guys hang out on Saturday night and
Yeah.
let's just do like 30 episodes and crank them out.
Right.
I mean, in some cases it works. I think that's the part I'd love to understand is what is those variables that either
Yeah.
indicate a success or failure. I mean, Happy Days could have been easily just a massive bomb, right? Hey, we like
Yeah.
the nostalgia, but that's just for one movie, American Graffiti. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But
No, you're I think also, it's just I think it's the writing,
yeah, it's also
it's like
the directing.
Yeah, I mean, MASH was a movie, it became a massive TV show.
Yeah,
Why? Probably because of the writing, the
yeah,
writers, the actors, the
yeah,
the storylines. But it's a part of it, but to your point, it's probably money,
yeah,
like who's going to pay for it. And
yeah,
then probably it's a little bit of luck too, I mean, in
yeah.
terms of like this,
Timing.
like timing, it just hits it, and all of a sudden you have winner on your hands. But
That's
no,
it.
I agree. Some should just never be, ever be, ever be,
Yeah,
ever be a TV or a movie. Just leave
yeah.
them alone. Don't go there.
Like if they try to combine Baywatch with Jaws, hey, this is beach movies. Let's just try to.
It would be
But
that
I think, I mean, we did have the infamous jump the shark episode with Fonzie trying to get that they were trying to ride the Jaws
right.
phenomena right
And
there.
the thing about that, the thing about the episode, I still love that episode though.
Yeah, no,
I love Fonzie wearing a leather vest, water
yeah,
skiing
it's kind of a
is
very
just
European
it's
look. It's
it's
the
very
Euro style.
it's very like
Yeah,
1966 UK. I think
yeah,
back in the UK, like those guys actually wore like leather jackets when they would water ski on like Loch Ness
wow.
and they would wear that. But yeah,
Well, hey,
yeah,
John, we got about 30 minutes until Svengoolie, so we
yes, we
got to.
do.
Uh,
Island of Lost Souls tonight.
oh wow,
A
that's going to be a good one.
absolute Charles Lawton classic.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't seen Island of Lost Souls, that's where House of Pain came from. Jump around. House of Pain, House of
Awesome.
Lost Souls, Island of Lost Souls. Check it out.
All right, everyone. Well, listen, hey, thanks for joining us. Again, feel free to email us with
Yep.
any feedback. We want to hear your favorite movie to TV and TV to movies and worst ones, of course. And we'll see you next week. See you guys.
See you next week. See you guys.